those of you I haven't met, I look forward to meeting you in the near future. What I'd like to do is, so today is May the 4th, International Star Wars Day, and so I'm going to try to keep the Star Wars theme to today's proceedings. What I'd like to do is start out by asking our guest here to maybe give a brief introduction and why he's here. Sure. No, you can just stay where you are.
Okay, well, interesting. Good afternoon, everyone. I met some of you last week, but my name is Randy Faustino. I am a scientist who works over in cardiac research over in Stabile. And one of the reasons I wanted to check out Toastmasters is because I'm looking to improve my communication skills. Because along this continuum of speakers, ultimately I would like to be of the quality of a TED speaker or a TEDx speaker. But right now, I'm past the point of petrified in front of audiences and well into the fake it till you make it. So I'm on my way. So that's my primary motivation for coming here and hoping to improve it as I watch all of you who are excellent speakers. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. Now I'd like to invite up our grammarian, Kaylee, to talk about her role.
I'm going to be the grammarian for today, and the purpose of my role is to listen intently to all of the speakers and all of the roles today, and listen for colorful language, any misuses of words, and any uses of fillers, ahs, ums, so's. I'll be counting those throughout our time speaking. The word of the day is inveterate, and it has two meanings: firmly established by long persistence, or confirmed in a habit, or habitual. So the word in a sentence: since Ernie is an inveterate liar, we didn't believe him when he said he met a movie star. And I'll be counting how many times throughout today the word of the day is used as well.
And I'd like to invite up Derek to speak about the time limit.
Thank you. So before I go over the time roll, I have the privilege of chauffeuring around a 2-year-old, and every time we come up to a red light, I have a little voice in the back that says, "Stop, go, stop, go." So, like my son, I will be providing you guys visual cues of red, yellow, and green. So for table topic speakers, I'll start off with the green light, and that will go for a minute. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, I'll turn on the yellow, and then once you hit 2 minutes, I'll turn on the red. Both of our speakers have requested 5 to 7 minutes today. So the way that will work is at 2 minutes left at the end of the speech, I will turn on the green. At 1 minute left, you'll see the yellow, and at the red, you'll get the buzzer, hopefully not. The evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. You'll see the green at the 2 minute mark, the yellow at the 2 minute and 30 second mark, and then the red at the 3 minute mark. Looking forward. Thank you.
This time I'd like to ask Joe Sharp to give our humor and inspiration speech.
I'd like to talk about avoiding the single story. A single story is an oversimplification of a complicated matter, or a stereotyping of a person or a group. Examples are the inveterate single stories of presidential candidates who either talk about all our trouble are due to invasion by Mexicans and Muslims, or by greedy capitalists and selfish banks. But we Toastmasters also inveterately stereotype and oversimplify the subjects we talk about. We have two risks of avoiding the understanding of a complicated matter, and two, of getting boring and monotonous and predictable. There is, however, a solution, although it's a bit difficult. We must strive to hold two conflicting stories in our mind at the same time. Now that is a complicated idea to think about, but it's worth trying because we've got experiments that show that that's the only way to make good predictions about new trends. You're open to new ideas quickly. I'd like to show how Dorothy Parker contrasts two conflicting ideas to produce excitement and surprise in an 8-line poem. Razors pain you. Rivers are damp. Acids sting you. Drugs cause cramp. Guns aren't lawful. Nooses give. Gas smells awful. You might as well live.
And now, to introduce speaker number 1, Stacy Johnson, who's giving us a Persuade with Power speech from Competent Communicator Manual. And the title of her speech is Full Year, School Year. She's asked for 5 to 7 minutes, and one exciting fact about Stacy, sticking with the inveterate Disney franchise Star Wars, is that her favorite movie is Empire Strikes Back. And she also has a Tauntaun sleeping bag.
My name is Stacy, and I am here to talk today in support of extending the options for the full year school year at the Rochester Public Schools to middle school and high school. I have 4 children. I have 2 that are on the traditional calendar right now, the 9 months on and 3 months off. And I have 2 children that I go to Longfellow, and they're on the 45-15-day full year calendar, which means they have 45 days on, 15 days off throughout the year. Just in case, for anybody that might not know, students that go to school on the full year calendar are actually going to school the same number of days as the people on the traditional calendar. They're just on a different schedule where they have more formally interspersed breaks throughout the course of the year. So same number of days actually in school. The reason for a traditional, the reason for the traditional calendar having evolved the way that it has is actually an inveterate reason. Growing from a time when most of us were living in agrarian societies and the children needed to be home to help with their family farms on the summers. And as we moved more and more into an industrial society and the cities were growing, there was also a lack of climate control in the schools, so it would have been very difficult to hold classes in the very hot summers. Of course, neither one of those reasons are applicable to our society today. There have been a number of studies about the effectiveness of the full year school year. One meta-analysis of studies from the University of Minnesota has shown that although the results are inconclusive across the board about the long-term benefits of a full year school year, but one thing that it has been shown to improve on is to reduce what's called summer slide. The New York Board of Regents did a study and they found that students forget much of what they learn in school while on a long summer break. And the students that go to a full year school year spend less time having to relearn what they've learned. The teachers spend less time reviewing every year. Now for my personal reason for thinking that we need to, at the Rochester Public Schools, to extend the calendar, the full year calendar option to a middle school and a high school. I am going to show you As I mentioned, I have children in both a full year school and a traditional calendar. Here, let me pull this up. All right, we're just gonna keep like that. So, in the traditional school year, what you see here is a bar graph, a pie chart and a bar graph that show when the students are in school, that is the blue, and when they are out of school, that is the orange. My little boys that go to the full year school, this is what their calendar looks like, and you can see here that the breaks are more evenly distributed. They still get a little bit of extra time in the summer, but mostly it's scattered throughout the year. Now the thing that's really interesting, I think, is that both of my older boys generally end up needing to go to summer school in the summer. And if you take a look at that graph, when they end up spending a month in school in July, this pie chart is starting to look a lot more like a full year school year, but without the benefit of a formal structured curriculum and evenly spaced breaks. And the other challenge for my family particularly is when you have one set of students on a traditional school year with summer school and a set of students that are on the 45-15 calendar, the amount of time that they are actually out of school together at the same time is about a week in the spring, about 2 weeks in early June, and then a week at Christmas time. And that can be a major challenge for a family, especially a family like mine that is a blended family. Both of our sets of kids spend time with their other parents, so that cuts down a little bit more. And if we were ever, for example, we wanted to go and visit my older kids' grandparents, they live in India, and there's no way with this schedule that we could possibly make a trip to India without taking some of the kids out to school some of the time. As I have mentioned, there is no evidence that shows that the 45-15 days calendar is worse than a traditional calendar in terms of student achievement, and there is some studies that suggest that it's better, especially in terms of reducing summer slide. The reasons for having a traditional calendar at all are mostly irrelevant anymore in this day and age. And I believe that if Rochester Public Schools are going to offer an option for an elementary school to be a full year calendar, which I also think is the best way for at least for my students to learn, that it only makes sense that if I'm going to have two sets of kids on what is essentially a full year calendar, I should have the option of being able to put them on the same full year calendar.
Thank you, Stacy. Now I'd like to introduce Jen. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 minute for evaluation. For the rest. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Jenny Allen, who is also giving a Persuade with Power speech entitled Stand Up. She's asked for 5 to 7 minutes, and when I asked her about her favorite Star Wars movie or her favorite Star Wars character, despite its venerable presence in our lives, thank you Disney, she has never seen Star Wars. Although she knows of Yoda and the girl with the hair. Please welcome Jenny.
I'm doing something right now increases my risk of obesity. It increases my risk of diabetes. It also increases my risk of death from cardiovascular disease. What am I doing? Sitting. In my speech today, I'm going to share with you some facts about prolonged sitting and the effects of that. I'm also going to share with you some of the biological implications of sitting for prolonged periods as on your body. And I hope to share with you some tips to help you alleviate the health risks that come along with sitting for too long. By the end of this speech, I hope to motivate you to do one simple thing, and that's to stand up to help increase your health. So let's start with some facts. How many of you have heard the term sitting is the new smoking? Quite a few of you. Dr. James Levine, he is an endocrinologist and a researcher here at Mayo Clinic, has shared research that links sitting for long periods of time with a number of health concerns, including some of the ones that I mentioned earlier. Obesity, metabolic syndrome, which is a cluster of conditions that includes increased blood pressure, high blood sugar, excessive body fat around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol levels. Too much sitting, as I mentioned before, also increases the risk of death by cardiovascular disease and cancer. Those are all similar conditions to somebody who smokes for a long period of time. A couple more interesting facts. We move about 90% less. We physically move about 90% less than our ancestors did over 100 years ago. People who are considered obese generally sit for about 2.5 hours longer per day than those who are considered non-obese. In fact, in one study of adults who spent more than 4 hours a day in front of a screen had an 80% chance of increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And it's not just being in front of a screen that increases your risk. If you sit at a desk for long periods of time, no matter what you're doing, whether you're in front of a screen or not, or if you have a career, know of somebody who spends a lot of time behind the wheel of a vehicle, transporting things like that, all of those increase your risk of these health issues, if you will. And another thing along with that is that those risks are independent of other things. So for example, smoking and diet, it's independent of those things. If you sit for prolonged periods, but you say, you know, it's okay, I go to the gym twice a week, that doesn't necessarily impact that prolonged sitting, that risk that prolonged sitting has on your health. So those are some facts. Now let's talk about some of the biological implications that sitting has on your body. When you sit down, your body goes into storage mode and increases the risk of your bottom becoming bigger. There are some other things that happen. Muscle contractions. Let's talk about muscle contractions. The muscles that contract when you're standing, the muscles that are contracting when I'm standing right now, they trigger a process related to breaking down fats and sugars. When you sit, these processes stop and your health risks increase. When you're standing, you kickstart these processes back into action. So now that you know some of the overall facts and some biological implications for sitting for prolonged periods, what can you do to increase your health and reduce those risks? Simply said, I'll do it again, you can stand up. You can stand up. Take the stairs to your 3rd floor office. And for those of you who work on the 10th floor or maybe even higher, that's not an excuse. Take the stairs to the 8th floor, take the elevator to the 8th floor, and then take the stairs up to the 10th floor. If you sit in front of your desk for long periods of time, make sure to stand and stretch every hour or so, at a minimum every 90 minutes, just again to get those processes starting within your body. If you need to, walk over to a window, walk to the fridge to get a snack, or walk to the nearest ice machine and get some ice water, which, by the way, is also very good for your health. Do those things and that will help you. In Minnesota, it's getting nice outside. Go down to the main floor of your building, walk out the doors, and take a 5-minute walk around the block to help increase your health. how else can you do this? When I was looking into some of these facts that I've shared with you today, there were some simple things that you can do. We all receive phone calls throughout the day, whether it's work-related or personal phone calls. If you receive a phone call on your work phone or your iPhone and you're sitting, simply stand up as you take that call. Even for 60 seconds, that stand-up break that you take will help increase your health. Some of these simple things that I've shared with you today will help you become an inveterate stander. And in fact, I invite you all, if you're willing, to stand up right now. In today's speech, I told you a few things. I told you about some of the alarming facts regarding prolonged sitting. I told you about the biological implications of sitting on your body. And I also shared with you some simple things that you can do to alleviate some of those health risks. I promised you by the end of this speech you would be motivated to do one thing, and that would be to stand up to increase your health. In fact, in this last 30 seconds of my speech, you have burned 3 times as many calories as you would have if you would have been sitting for the last 30 seconds. So I hope with those facts you are encouraged to indeed stand up.
Should we keep standing? That was a great way to get a standing ovation.
Please take 1 minute to fill out your feedback. Okay, thank you. At this time, despite him not being on the board, that's an omission on my part, I'd like to introduce our topics master, Chris.
Thank you. I am very happy to see our inveterate word player, Greg, back in the club. I look forward to any new alliterations that he may come up with. That is one of my favorite ways of playing words. So, and in keeping with the day, may the fourth be with you. And for the Lutherans, and also with you. Thank you. Who are the sci-fi fans in this room? Okay, Bethany, I'm gonna pick you. Come on up here, Bethany. As a sci-fi fan, what is your favorite sci-fi world and why?
Okay, we'll start with something that's on the top of my brain. The first place I could think of is Narnia, probably because it's something that everybody kind of has in the back of their mind. If you have a bad day, you'd like to all think that, you know, in the back of your closet you have this world that you can open up and you can just run into, and it won't be anything like your reality that you have now. So. But that was one of my favorite books and movies as I was growing up. There's fantastical creatures. You can go in and become a princess or a king. So I guess that's it.
Another benefit of Narnia is once you live your lifetime in the back of the closet, as soon as you come out of the closet, you're back to where you started in when you entered too. So it's a form of cryogenics in essence, you know, especially with the Snow Queen in power. Who likes Hallmark holidays? Excellent. Thank you for your wisdom. However, Mother's Day is coming up. So who would like to share a favorite Mother's Day memory or plan, that past or future. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. John, our inveterate speaker. Again, the question is, a Mother's Day memory or plan for the future?
This happened in 1994 with Mother's Day. I remember it well. I got in the doghouse that day, but that's a whole other story. My daughter was born on May 6th of that year, and Mother's Day was for Sunday, so it had to be the next day. And I accused my wife of planning the whole time, so she got a Mother's Day gift. That didn't over too well. So every year we have dual parties with my daughter, with Mother's Day and her birthday at the same time. So there's been many, many fun Mother's Day memories. And I think I've gotten out of the doghouse, but my daughter's in Colorado this year, so it will only be Mother's Day.
How many fishermen, sportsmen do we have in the room? Anybody that likes to go fishing? Andrew, come on up. Fishing opener is it has commonly conflicted with Mother's Day. Do you have a noteworthy fishing story?
So, when I go fishing, we usually go fishing on the Mississippi River at my father-in-law's place. Luckily, the Mississippi doesn't have a fishing opener. It's open year-round, as long as we can get onto the water. I would say one of the best fishing stories is when we were fishing with our nephew, was probably 4 or 5 at the time, and he just has one of those kid fishing poles. I think it was either a Superman or a Spider-Man fishing pole. Well, puts his pole in the water, and he's sitting there and really upset that he's not catching anything. And then his bobber goes under the water, starts pulling in the fish, can't get it in. So my father-in-law starts pulling in the fish. He caught a northern about this big on his little fishing pole. Now, seeing a 4-year-old catch a northern that big, the kid freaks out and runs to the other side of the boat, just scared that he actually caught the fish. Never understood what fishing actually meant, catching fish. So being there for that moment was just priceless, and I know we're going to go through it again with my kids and my nephews and nieces that are going to pick up fishing as well.
Do I need to come up with one more question, or should I turn it back over to our Toastmaster?
You've got the topic, so you've got the time.
Mr. Toastmaster.
I'd like to thank Chris, our inveterate vertebrate, for his profuse and also known as a profuse purveyor of praise. Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to turn the floor over to our general evaluator, Andrew. Andrew, please come.
as general evaluator, my role today is to just give a general evaluation of how today went and how everybody performed at their roles, and to help lead the evaluation team in giving a report on the first half of our meeting. So before I give my general evaluation, I'd like to call up the first evaluator, Krishna. Brian.
Yeah, sorry.
But I watched that train back
Thank you, Andrew. So this evaluation is of Stacy's speech full year, school year. And I would just say that this was a very well organized speech, and I was very comfortable in following along and understanding what exactly you were trying to get at. I liked how you started your speech with your ask, and that was I think that was a very key element. You came up here and you said, this is what I'm asking for. We should move the school year to the same track as the other track, so they're the same. And then you gave some key facts, and I really like how you went through those facts. Because for me, it was, I don't have any kids, and I don't know about the other audience members, but it was kind of hard for me to be persuaded why I should care. For me, it's I don't really have that much interest in whether kids go to school all year or half year. But the fact that you gave these facts really kind of made me think, well, yeah, it's the same number of days for both tracks, so they're not missing any school. The climate control issue, I never realized that. I didn't realize that was an actual reason why they had that different track system. And then the studies that you cited kind of made me realize, yeah, okay, this is important. This is a legitimate request and a legitimate action that should be taken. I really liked how you ended your speech with that ask again. You reiterated what you wanted, or what you think should be the future state. So I really liked how you organized it and you included those facts. I liked how you used a couple words you used, inveterate and agrarian. I like the word agrarian. Some of the things I think you could have improved upon was maybe trying to get more audience buy-in, if you will, by asking how many people had children or how many people this applies to, because, like I said at the very beginning, I don't have children, so I don't really, why is this important to people without children or even people with children? So you referred a lot to yourself, that I have these children, this is why it applies to me. And I think that was great, but I think you could have also applied it more to the audience. I thought you had a great rate and a great pitch and volume. I could hear you clearly in the back. I thought that was great. As far as your props, your chart, I'm not a huge fan of the pie charts. I think that was a little confusing to know what the breakdown was of how many days that really is. I was just looking at it, saw them go smaller and then a little bit bigger, and I wasn't quite sure. So maybe a bar chart instead. We might explain that, help explain that a little bit better, but you'd have to look at that. And you're obviously the best judge of that. Otherwise, I thought it was a great, persuasive speech, and I was definitely persuaded that we should all get on the same track. Thank you very much.
And next, to review Jenny, comment?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and most distinguished guests. You already look like an established Toastmaster to me. So I'm going to review the talk of Stand Up by Jenny. Jenny started with quoting the three essential elements of her talk, which is facts, biology, and how to elevate what's going on. So whenever I evaluate a speech, I kind of look at three different things as to what did I hear, what did I see, and how did I feel about it. So when it comes to the hearing department, Jenny, you gave us a lot of facts, and you ran over it quite a lot. You also, what I saw was you sat down, you gave a pretty good use of prop, and then you stood up. and we gave a lot of things about, we started with sitting is the new smoking, and the risk of sitting leads to metabolic syndrome, which a lot of people do not understand, but we went ahead and described it. And I didn't realize that my grandfather exercised a lot better than me. All I thought he was a landowner sitting on his rear end all the time. And obese people sit longer than thin people, but you mentioned that. What I would like to see, because you are a very seasoned speaker right now, so I'm going to cut to the chase and get to the thing. Whenever you give a lot of facts, people become oblivious of the facts after a while. So giving a handout might be a good thing to take a message. And just starting, these are the points. And when you're reading out the facts, it's best to use some note cards, with one note card talking about statistics, so that you don't have one page and then another, and then it's folded in many things, and you can just briefly look at it. Using some humor might be good. I would say, when you lie down, you burn this much calories. When you sit up, this much. When you stand up, this much, and then kind of break it up, take the audience in one direction and take them to the other direction. So humor is something we do not utilize in our speech, which I think we could do well in both the speeches. Humor is an important thing. Your speech could also have some humor. Props, important. What I thought was you didn't use the stage too much. I don't like to use the stage too much. And every time you use the word of the day, you're almost like it's an apology, or like, sorry I used it, did it go well with you? Use it with passion. As if that's the way it is, so that's the way. I think becoming professional is what we want to be. We don't want to look at like we are amateurs. I used it, hey, how did I do? Right? No. The other thing is, I want to know what you're doing about standing. You look pretty thin and all that. So are you standing all days? I know Mayo has given those tables where you can stand up, and I'm trying to do that. Are you doing any of the things which you're telling us to do? So tell us what you're doing. Other than that, keep the statistics to the minimum and vocal variety to a lot more. So I think other than that, everything's cool. So Mr. John Devalverde.
Next, I'd like to call for a grammarian, Gary, for the grammarian's report.
Had a good day. The word of the day was used quite a lot. Joe used it twice, Greg twice, Stacy once, Jenny once, Chris twice, and I believe that was it. But very, very good use of word of the day. I observed that we are getting a lot better not using ahs and ums. I didn't hear very many of them at all throughout all the speeches today. However, the word so seems to be a very common crutch. Also, the word and. I know that I was doing that when I first came up here. Just continued to go on and on with my sentences instead of ending and starting. So that is, I just did it again. So. So that's one thing to watch. the use of the word so's. Colorful language, summer slide. I liked that one and the explanation of it. I'm not even going to be able to say what I wrote down here. Purveyor of praise, and there was a P word before that I didn't catch. I enjoyed that. Bethany, you mentioned fantastical creatures in your speech about Narnia. And Chris mentioned cryogenics. I think those were probably the most interesting speech that I heard today. Overall, I think we did very well.
And just to point out, I do use the word so a lot as well. I know I catch myself quite frequently. Next, the timers report.
Thank you, Mr. Evaluator. Dr. Sharp, you had 1 to 2 minutes, and you came in at 1 minute and 58 seconds. Stacy, you requested 5 to 7 minutes. Your time was 6 minutes and 12 seconds. Jenny, You also requested 5 to 7 minutes. Your time was 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And FYI, I stood the whole time. For our table topics, Bethany, great job. You came in at 50 seconds. John, you came in at 53 seconds. And Andrew, 1 minute and 50 seconds. For our evaluators, Brian, your evaluation was 3 minutes and 18 seconds. And Dr. Ghosh, your evaluation was 3 minutes and 2 seconds. Thank you.
Now for the general evaluation, I think the meeting went very well. We started on time and it looks like we're going to end right on time as well. The presentation was very good. I know we did have some corrections on the board here, but we transitioned and we worked through them very smoothly. Both speeches, I think, were very good. They definitely were backed with good research and also local research that we do here and studies from the University of Minnesota. Then I think everything else went very well, and I'll turn it over to the president.
At this time, I'd like to invite any club officers if they have something that they would like to deliver to the club. Please do so.
I have some announcements. First, I'd like to recognize that Amit got 3rd place at the, you have to tell me what it's called. The
2016 District 6 Spring Convention International Speech Competition.